Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella. A unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing. Cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott. Cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid. Providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years. Hey everybody. Hey Heather.
Hey Mary.
It's quilty time.
It is.
I'm really glad that you're here because we always have fun together.
We do.
And we have fun even when things are kind of challenging.
Yes.
This is a pattern that you can get as a free download on fonsandporter.com. It is a pattern that is taken from the International Quilt Study Center in Lincoln, Nebraska. If you've never been to the study center, you need to go. It's in Lincoln. We need to go.
We should. Road trip.
It's fabulous, and you should visit it. It's like Valhalla for quilts. And anyway, every once in a while, you'll get a pattern from the study center in the magazine that you can download and use and make. I don't know if it's once a month or once an issue, but it's something like that. It's free.
Yeah.
So this is an alphabet block, an alphabet quilt.
Yes, it was an alphabet sampler. Oh, I need the second.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It was an alphabet sampler, and someone from Fons and Porter drafted all of them. And essentially the pattern involves a couple of pieces of paper like this, where you see each of the letters. The letters with the grids, you kind of have to figure out the sizing yourself. Mm-hmm. There are more elaborate instructions, but you kind of have to do some counting yourself, which is why it's very advanced.
Yes.
And the letters that are not gridded have a paper pieced pattern, so you just print that off.
Similar to the A.
Yes, the A right here, for example, has two pieces. I think there's both. There's both sides right there.
Oh yeah, both sides right here.
So you can see you paper piece one half and the other, and then together for the A. The A was very simple.
A is super easy. Begin with the simple thing. And by the way, quilty is for the beginner, but I refuse to dumb things down for our audience. I mean, because my belief is if you do a project that you're not interested in, you're not going to finish it. You're not going to fall in love with quilting. This is not a first-time project, but you can do it.
Any alphabet blocks are going to be challenging because it's not like you're going to make, unless you make a quilt that's only A's. You repeat the A over and over again, it's easier. But if you're going to spell words or make an alphabet sampler, they're all going to be a little different, so it's going to be challenging in the way that it's like you're doing 26 little quilts instead of one.
And dude, you could do an A+ quilt. A+ block, A+ block.
Yeah.
Totally great.
Yep.
Okay, so yes. So we're
then
going
we move next to the B. B is more challenging because you can see there's like these little rectangle corner bits were pretty crazy. Yeah. You could also make it bigger and trim it down.
Yep.
And essentially the grid here, and you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but I used my pencil and marked down because every 2 squares in this grid is 1 inch finished. So then you also have to add your seam allowance.
And this is in the pattern. And the pattern, when you print it out, is
like 20 pages.
Okay. But one of the reasons we're doing this, though, is that letters are really hot. They're really hot right now, and there's lots of different styles. At the end of the show, we're going to look at another kind of way.
It looks really intimidating on the paper, but when you sort of break it down to what it actually is, the pieces,
always,
it's way less intimidating. That's this side. That's this side. And also, part of why this is intimidating is it has like these little serifs, so the fancy antique font, and you could easily, on this B, you could just make that bar and that bar.
Exactly.
Close those in, letter B. Yeah. You don't need the fancy flourishes. The letter L here has fancy flourishes.
Right. You could skip them.
It could just be straight lines.
And so in that way, like any pattern, you can use this sort of as a guide and kind of adapt to fit yourself. But the whole alphabet is in that pattern, and you might find that your name is a really easy one to spell. Maybe your name is Flo.
And some of the letters are harder, and some of the letters are easier. I feel like the C, way easier.
Okay, so that's the one we're going to look at more in depth. So why don't you bring this into the center.
C in here.
Show me the pieces here.
There's so the front curve of the C has bigger corner, smaller corner, and you put them on. You just put it onto a big yellow square.
Now, quick question. So you're cutting out a pink square.
I cut it out a pink square.
And then you put faces together, right sides together.
Drew the line, so the line corner to corner on the pink square. We've got a C.
And you've got a C.
Pretty simple.
We do an economy block episode. You know, it's like going through the layout of this was the purpose of this show.
And I would write down, when I was working on it, all the pieces and what color. So I need a 3.5-inch square in yellow. I need a 5 by 2-inch pink rectangle, etc., with all the individual pieces, which I got from counting out and looking at there. And they've got sort of the darker lines on the pattern here, where you can see which portions of the box to go.
And that's one more tip for you today is that whether I have my pattern nearby all the time, but I always do this. I like work on the block that I'm looking at because they have all the cutting instructions
so
in a pattern.
Little tick mark says did that. That's finished. That's finished.
Right. So you have all your cutting instructions. They say you need 250 blue squares for B. You need, for unit X or whatever.
Yes.
And so then I make this cheat sheet to just focus on what I'm doing in one particular block. The more patterns you work from, the more you will come up with little ways that help you.
And this pattern is a very specific way. It's already written out. It's free. It's a way you can start making letters.
Right.
So you could also improvise letter shapes. And I actually have a great example of a friend of mine who's in my Chicago Modern Quilt Guild, Laura Hardrick. She has made a couple of quilts now with letters in it. And here's an example on her Instagram page. And so she spelled out Hello World. This is the same letters but with space in between or no space. And she just sort of figured them out by using shapes she already knew how to make. So there's squares and there's half square triangles and things like that just in there. And she assembles them into the letters the way, so she ends up with the words. And you could do that too with just the shapes you already know how to make and quilt and go from there. And it doesn't have to be as precise as this antique sampler. It can be a little more free from. It could totally be improvisation. It just needs to spell it out for you in the size and shape you want.
Right. And think about what you could say in your quilt, literally by using letters. So give it a shot this way, that way. And we can't wait to read your quilt. Thanks, Heather. Bye.
Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella, a unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing. Cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott. Cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid. Providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years.